When we last saw him leaving hospital, he may have looked frail, but Prince Philip has been so perennial, such an enduring public figure, that this day would always come as a shock. The notice outside Buckingham Palace announced, "It is with deep sorrow that Her Majesty the Queen has announced the death of her beloved husband, His Royal Highness the Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh. His Royal Highness passed away peacefully this morning at Windsor Castle."
Prince Philip earned the affection of generations here in the United Kingdom, across the Commonwealth and around the world. He was the longest serving consort in history, one of the last surviving people in this country to have served in the Second World War, at Cape Matapan, where he was mentioned in dispatches for bravery, and in the invasion of Sicily, where he saved his ship by his quick thinking. And from that conflict, he took an ethic of service that he applied throughout the unprecedented changes of the post-war era. We remember the Duke for all of this, and above all, for his steadfast support for Her Majesty the Queen. Not just as her consort, by her side every day of her reign, but as her husband, her strength and stay of more than 70 years. And it is to Her Majesty and her family that our nation's thoughts must turn today, because they have lost not just a much-loved and highly respected public figure, but a devoted husband and a proud and loving father, grandfather, and in recent years, great-grandfather. Speaking on their golden wedding anniversary, Her Majesty said that our country owed her husband a greater debt than he would ever claim or we shall ever know. And I'm sure that estimate is correct. So we mourn today with Her Majesty the Queen. We offer our condolences to her and to all her family.
During the pandemic, the Duke of Edinburgh has been in isolation with the Queen in Windsor Castle, which they dubbed HMS Bubble. We've caught recent glimpses of them together on an anniversary card and Christmas card. But COVID times meant today's announcement was followed by warnings to the public that they should abide by social distancing laws in paying their respects. But of course the flowers came, along with the tributes.
Well, the UK has lost an extraordinary public servant in Prince Philip. He dedicated his life to our country. And above all, I think he'll be remembered for his support and devotion to the Queen. And all of our thoughts are with the Queen, the royal family, and the British public as they come together to mourn this huge loss.
I always really enjoyed spending time with the Duke of Edinburgh and talking to him. Of course, I don't pretend that I knew him well, but I met him on many different occasions, particularly at Balmoral. And he was very different to the public characterisation that we often heard and read about. He was a very thoughtful man, an exceptionally interesting man to talk to.
On behalf of the Welsh Government and people in all parts of Wales, I offer our deepest condolences to Her Majesty the Queen, Her Majesty's children and their families on this sad occasion.
Prince Philip was widely respected for his active and dedicated service to the country and for his steadfast support to Her Majesty the Queen throughout her reign. He had a strong interest in Northern Ireland, and I had the privilege of meeting him here on a number of his many visits.
She was head of state, he was head of the family. It was a partnership that won hearts through service to this country.
Whatever your views on the monarchy, it's indisputable that the Queen is very popular. She's brought a long period of stability to the crown, and she couldn't have done it without Prince Philip. The naval man gave up his calling to steer this ship, and he's done it through 70 turbulent years.
Once they were the modern couple, lifting a country recovering from war, navigating the new media of television, nurturing as best they could a family in the spotlight. He was the Queen's ballast and closest confidant. At 6 o'clock, a bell rang at Westminster Abbey. and it continued once every minute for 99 minutes, the number of years of his life.
My first reaction was to think of Her Majesty the Queen and to feel a deep sense of sympathy and compassion for her and for the whole family at the loss of such a gigantic figure, particularly in her own life, married for well over 70 years, 73 years.
Prince Philip's legacy will be in the charities he supported, and especially the Duke of Edinburgh Award.
Are you well, sir?
Well, do I look ill?
Always his own man, he helped draw up the details of his funeral and was determined there should be minimum fuss. Plans will be restricted by COVID, but the country will want to commemorate the man who managed to forge his own path as the longest royal support act in history to the country's longest reigning monarch. Jason Farrell, Sky News.